Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's good to be with you this week also. In case you're new, my name is Kpamor James Suleh, and this is a channel that you will find content on personal development, leadership and life management. You can do well to hit the subscription button and also the notification button so that each time I publish a new content you will be notified. And you can as well get down to the channel. There are a lot of interesting and very beneficial content that had already been published that will be of immense help and support to you. You're welcome to my channel. It's good to have you on this channel. Last week I did give you information on the life of Nabal, who was considered to be a fool. Not only was he considered to be a fool, but he had admitted the fact that he was a fool. And I told you that I am determined for us to learn lessons from Nabal's life. The very reason why I said that was because no matter how foolish or unproductive the life of a man is, there is something that needs to be learned from him. It's either you learn how to live or you learn how not to live. And I told you that there's a lot that is packaged in the way Nabal lived his life, that if we take a great deal of time to study his life, that will be very beneficial to us. And last week we commenced our study on what I titled the value of a name, and we're trying to see how the name that you call a person or a circumstance greatly affects what the results you get from that circumstance or that person. And I said that irrespective of the effort that you will put into your life or into overturning unproductive or unbeneficial circumstances of your life, if you call yourself names that are not beneficial or circumstances names that are not beneficial, then that name or those names will undermine every effort that you will put in place to overturn those circumstances or to make a productive situation of your life. And I advised you that if you find a situation where your name or the name of someone very close to you over whom you will have authority on is such that it will undermine your effort or undermine the effort of such a person, then the best thing to do is to change that name. You can do well to change your name to a name that will support the productive effort that you will be putting in place to make better your life. And today, I want us to continue with the study of Nabal, a second lesson from the life of this fool, which will help our life as we journey on earth. And today I want us to consider Nabal's investment strategy. Nabal, though foolish, had a very impeccable investment strategy that it behoves on us to study and also to implement in our lives. And before I get into the life of Nabal, let me inform you that every one of us is endowed with potentials that needs to be invested. Every one of us is endowed with resources that God desires us to invest and reap benefits from, for the benefit of our life and also for the generality of human beings. And so if you are not endowed with finances, you may probably be endowed with a very high intellect that needs to be invested. And if you are not endowed with a very high intellect, you may probably be invested with your physical strength or with your emotions that need to be invested so that you will reap beneficially for yourself and for the generality of human beings. So never consider yourself as someone who is devoid of potentials to invest. Never consider yourself to be someone who is bankrupt of resources that need to be invested. Unfortunately, many of us feel that it is only finance that can be invested, and that is not true. Emotions can be invested, energy can be invested, strength can be invested, intellect can be invested, and many people have invested all of these resources and have reaped beneficially for themselves, for their families, and for their nations. You remember Joseph invested such an intellect. Jacob also invested energy and he reaped, and you can tell how beneficial that investment was to him. And so we'll be looking at our chapter under context. That's 1 Samuel chapter 25 that we'll be using in the whole study of Nabal's life. Particularly, we'll be taking a look at verse 2 that speaks about the fact that Nabal was a very impeccable investor. And from there, we will look at his investment strategy or his investment policy. 1 Samuel chapter 25 and verse 2 says, "And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was sharing his sheep in Carmel." What we form the basis of our discussion today is, or of our study today, is the fact that Nabal was a very established businessman, and he lived and dwelt in Maon, a city called Maon, and yet he established his business ventures in Carmel. He lived in Maon but invested his businesses in Carmel. So what is Nabal's business strategy or investment strategy that I would like us to look at in our content today? And I tried to capture that investment strategy or investment policy in a way that I would say it and then explain it, that you need to identify business investments that have high return on investment. And when you have identified them, let nothing hinder you from investing. You need to develop capacity to identify high return on investment business opportunities. And when you have identified them, let nothing hinder you or constrain you from making such investment. Now, this is a statement that you may have been very familiar with, or you may have known something along this line, but I want to bring to you something that is very interesting, perhaps in a picture that you will never forget, and it will make it very easy and interesting for you to apply in your day-to-day life. Try to develop capacity to identify business investments that have high return on investment. And when you have identified these investment opportunities, let nothing hinder you from investing in them. And that's exactly what Nabal did in the verse that we did. Nabal was living in Maon, and yet he identified business investment opportunities that had high return on investment in Carmel. And so he went into Carmel and invested in them. I want to look at two things that will hinder one from investing even when he has discovered or identified business ventures that have high return on investment. One, it is inconvenience. Now, you will notice from where we read that the Bible says that Nabal was living in Maon. Now, if you do a study, you will discover that Carmel was a very far distance from Maon. Ordinarily, Nabal would have said that I'm living in Maon. Maon is also a very good place to invest. Let me just invest in Maon. Maon can also give me return on investment. But he didn't do that because he knew that Maon, the return on investment that he will get in Maon will not be as high as the return on investment that he will get in Carmel. And that was why he left Maon and went and invested in Carmel. Now, there is a story that Jesus gave in the book of Matthew about someone who planted, and there was one planting that he did on a good ground. And though it was a good ground, the Bible says that that harvest brought forth in 30-fold, in 60-fold, and in 100-fold. Now, what I'm telling you is that a ground is good for investment is not enough for you to invest in it. That a ground is good enough for investment, it is not good enough for you to put in your investment resources. You will realize that it is not that Maon was not good for investment. It was simply that Vis-a-vis Maon and Camel, Camel presented a better return on investment than Maon. So Nabal decided to go and invest in Camel. Now, we're talking of investment. I know that what is the norm is that your mind will be going towards investment of your financial resources. But I did tell you in the beginning of this video that you have not only financial resources to invest, you also have emotions, you have strength, and you have intellect and many other resources that you need to invest. What I'm saying from Nabal's investment strategy is that try to identify investment opportunities that have high return on investment so that you can invest in them. Critically analyze them. Don't just get into investing in an opportunity simply because it presents good return on investment. Let it have a very high return on investment before you will invest in that opportunity. It could be a business venture that requires you to invest your finances. It could be a relationship that requires you to invest your emotions. It could be an organization that requires you to invest your intellect. It could be a work that requires you to invest your energy or your strength, whatever it will be. So long as it requires you to invest your resources with which you have been endowed with from God, study and be very sure that such an investment has a very high return on investment before you will invest into it. And if it does, then never let inconvenience hinder you from investing. Nabal had to leave Maon and went as far as Carmel to invest in Carmel so that he can get a very high return on investment despite the inconveniences that he had. So when you have made that identification, never allow inconvenience to hinder you from investing in such an opportunity. Now, the second thing that I would want to let you know that you should avoid it from hindering you from investing in such an opportunity when you have successfully identified it is sentiment. You know, it's easy for Nabal to have said that, this is my city. I've grown up here, my family is here, I have friends here. How would they think of me when I leave Maon and I travel far away to Carmel to invest in Carmel? You know, many people will even tell you, if you invest in Carmel, many of the people that will be employed in that investment will be people of Carmel, will not be those of Maon, and all of such sentiments. Those sentiments did not hinder Nabal from investing in Carmel because he knew that Carmel was the one that presented the highest return on investment on what he wanted. It's possible that you would have identified the best place to invest your resources, but sentiment would be what would try to hinder you from investing in such a business opportunity. Now, when I say business opportunity, like I said before, I'm not only talking about financial investment. Let me give you an example of how sentiment could make you or hinder you from investing in a very high profile or high return on investment business opportunity. Maybe you are somebody who wants to invest your emotions. You're looking out for somebody who you want to marry, and you found somebody who was not from your tribe, somebody who was not from your country, and you actually discover that this is a lady that or a guy that has high return on investment, in whom if you invest your emotions, what you will reap from will not just be beneficial to you, but will be beneficial to your children and to your generation. Now, sentiment will come in. People will begin to tell you, no, we don't marry from that tribe. We don't marry from that nation. How will you leave girls in your tribe and go to marry from this tribe or go to marry from this country? Or such a person is from a different church. Such a person does not believe in this aspect of our doctrine. Such a person does not believe in this aspect of our culture. All of these are sentiments that may hinder you from investing in a high profile, high return on investment opportunity of investing your emotions. Please, when you have identified such an investment, don't let such sentiments hinder you from making such an investment. Or maybe you have intellect in one business aspect, and your dad or your mom has business along that line, and you have identified that your return on investment of investing your intellect in your family business will not be as high as the return on investment that you will do if you invest your intellect in a business of another person. Now, sentiment may come in. People will tell you, why will you leave your family business and go to invest in another person's business? Please, if you have identified that investing in another business or another company other than the one that presents its opportunity to you has a higher return on investment or higher profile, then do well to invest in the business opportunity that you have identified that have a higher return on investment, ignoring the sentiment that will be accompanied with such an investment. Let me give an example of somebody who applied very accurately a similar principle that Nabal did, and it's in the person of Abraham. When Abraham was when he was old and he knew he never had many years to live, and Isaac was due to be married, he called his servant and made his servant to swear that he was not going to take a wife for his son among the girls that dwelt around them. That's the girls of Canaan. And that's to tell us that you dwell among them does not mean that you should pick a wife among them. And he made his servant to swear. And after swearing, he sent him back to his people in Mesopotamia that he should take a wife for his son from this location. Now, if you have studied the map very well, you will know that this was a very far distance, a journey that had a lot of challenges that this young man had to undertake. But simply because of the high return on investment that Abraham knew he was going to get by making Isaac invest his emotions and indeed his life into a lady that came from this location, Abraham made his servant to swear. And it was as serious as that. He never just allowed him to live, but he made him come under an oath, a very serious oath, that he was not going to go against the instruction that Abraham, gave him. So what I'm saying in essence is that what we need to learn from Nabal, despite the fact he was a fool, and imbibe in our investment policy, in our investment strategy, is that we need to develop capacity on identifying business investment opportunities that have high rates of investment, high return on investment. And when we have identified them, then we need not allow anything, either inconvenience or sentiment, hinder us from making such investment. And remember, I made you understand that when I talk about investment, I'm not just particular about financial investment. Talking about financial investment, talking about the investment of your strength, talking about the investment of your emotions, and talking about the investment of your life, talking about the investment of your intellect, and the investment of many other resources that God has endowed you with. You will see that there is a lot about investment that we need to learn from Nabal. So we need not write him off simply because he was a fool. And I believe that this content will help you develop an investment strategy that will be very, very beneficial to you and will prevent you from having many heartaches and headaches and many of the losses that people incur in life simply because they have not developed a very guaranteed business investment strategy. Thank you very much for being with me this week, and I hope that this content will be of great help to you and that you will also share it to your friends and families that you know it will also be of help to. I hope to see you next week, same time on this channel. Thank you very much, and God bless you.